experience of 10 years and 3 months, he has published 70 papers, both national and international conferences. Dr. Sukhinder Kumar, Dean, Faculty of Pharmacy, Swami Vivekananda Bharati University, Meerut. He has 80 national and international papers, 4 patents, 4 book chapters, 3 books published. He has been appointed as CPCA nominee in various institutional animal ethics committee, the Clinical Research, a scientific magazine, editor-in-chief, Pregnancy magazine, editor-in-chief, Journal of Biological and Pharmaceutical Science. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Meerut Pratap Singh. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Amit Kumar, speaker, come on the stage. Now I would like to request Dr. Alok Kumar Sharma to state the active class. Yes, yes, sure. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Manju Pratap Singh. Please come on the stage and introduce our speaker, Dr. Amit Kumar, Professor in Head Division of Biotechnology, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel University, Meerut.
No, very good afternoon. No. Dr. Amit Kumar, Professor in Head, Division of Animal Biotechnology, College of Biotechnology at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel University of Agriculture and Technology, Meerut. India is a veterinary microbiologist work in the field of antimicrobial resistance, AMR, and vaccinology for more than 18 years, and currently his focus is on the development of alternative therapy by exploiting quantum sensing mechanism of drug resistance bacteria, multigate antimicrobial resistance. He has developed 2 novel polyherbal formulation for the prevention and bovine anaplasmosis and brucellosis, and published more than 100 research papers in the journal of national as well as international reputes. So please, I am inviting the Dr. Amit Kumar sir. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you, Honorable Chairman and Co-Chairman of the session. Part of this a very important topic carrying a workshop or the seminar, because many times we used to fix the topics in such a way that we are not at all interacted with those topics, and those are very just for the scientific purpose. But when I went through the mails received sent by the Dr. Sharma, I felt that now the time has come that we the scientific fraternity or the scientists are also thinking over the things which are directly or indirectly related with ourselves, our job profiles, and the way how we are working in the system. So as they are arranging in a very short way, I also finalized just a few minutes coming before here. What I decided yesterday that I am going to discuss here with the understanding and mitigating of metabolic syndrome in extreme climatic conditions, because that is the topic on which for the last almost 3 years I am focusing on this, because I am the academic coordinator of the institute. So I have to interact with the students, and what I personally feel that for last few years There are so many cases of the females and the boys are coming with the depressions, anxiety and many other things. And many of the times the hormonal disbalances and they have to go for the treatment for this aspect. And you might be aware all these things that the metabolic disorders now, these are not the issues of the adult persons, these are starting from the early childhood stage. So I decided on to explain this topic. As I have highlighted this, the first thing is the understanding the metabolic syndrome. What is this? You all are aware, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart failure, strokes and all those which we are facing nowadays. The death without showing the symptom. So those are the common reflections which we are seeing in the society. Then the mitigating, how we can mitigate it, and nothing very scientific, very problematic things, only those which we can apply in our system, in our society, and our day-to-day life. And we will start from ourselves. So being a microbiologist, I have given some content of the microbiology also here, so that we, being a pharmacology background, you better understand the things, what I want to explain you. So what I explained you that for the last 3-4 years, we are focusing on the issues related with the society and how the students are being affected. So we just went through the literature and we published the paper recently in the Austin Journal of the Women's Health, that lifestyle is concern for the metabolic syndrome in the present day society, and a special reference to polycystic ovary syndrome in the employed women. So going through this and collecting the data and the information, so whatsoever I have observed, I will try to give you in summarized form, and also some clues how we can address this. So based on this literature, I have prepared my talk in a simple way. That we must understand what is the metabolic syndrome. You all know the abdominal obesity. I am also suffering from this. High blood pressure, many of you. High blood sugars, majority of the Indian society. High serum triglyceride. Every time we go for the testing, many of the youngsters are having this type of issues. The low serum high density lipoproteins. These are very much concerned nowadays whenever we go for the blood profile. And then the impaired fasting blood glucose level. What is the fasting level and what is the post-fasting level? Then the insulin resistance. So these are the issues which we are now very used to talk about. Whenever you will sit for a dining table for any new guest in your house, we used to discuss all these issues. I'm suffering from the blood pressure, heart issues, is there triglyceride issues. These are the common issues which we are facing in our day-to-day life. And the metabolic syndrome comprises of these three. Among these, any three may be the metabolic syndrome. And important thing is this, these are the basis of those conditions which we are facing now, the heart failure, strokes, paralysis and many other things. So I just selected few of them. The heart disease, the cardiac failure, not cardiac arrest, that may be a different issue, but the cardiac failure is very important, because every day we are listening this type of messages from the society that somebody was sitting there, somebody was dancing there, somebody was playing there, and all of a sudden he collapsed and died. So that is the heart failure. So heart failure is directly related with the metabolic syndrome. Then the stroke, paralysis, due to the high blood pressure, depression, anxiety, and then type 2 diabetes. India is having the largest population of the sufferers of type 2 diabetes. So that means it has been deeply embedded in the system now. So this was the complex picture which we developed from those data which we collected. I'm not going to go in the detail of this because my focus is how to mitigate this. So when we go for this, what we observed the pregnancy fetal programming, this change of metabolic syndrome and the hypothesis is that whenever there is any disease conditions, it is imposing some stress over the system. And ultimately the cell is there. So the individual cell is affected. If we go in the system, we will find that the hypoxia is there, different SHB synthesis is reduced, and then the increased androgen exposure. And that is the basis of all the stress which lead to that metabolic disorder. And these metabolic disorders may be reflected in the form of adulthood reproductive life cycle disturbances. Those may be the psychological, those may be the hormonal disbalances. It may be the issues related to the puberty in the case of the females, the delayed puberty, or there is a folic arrest or the involution, and ovulation or the irregular menses. These are very common and very routinely we observe in the society, particularly in the working women, which are working in a high profile societies and wherever they find the jobs because of the stress. Then the pregnancy is also, fetal programming is also affected, and that is the big issues why nowadays we are observing so many IVF centers everywhere, every corner in the society, and people going there. Then the different level of the appetite changes and that lead to the obesity and the triglyceride level alterations. And these affect the infancy also because we also observing the obesity. Phenotypes that is very common. We used to say, बहुत healthy हो गए, बहुत मोटा बच्चा है, बहुत chubby type का है. So that is not a basically good feature. That is some type of the infancy obesity phenotype, which we are usually observed in our society nowadays. Now, what are the risk factors for which these issues are being raised nowadays? Because if you will see these risk factors, you find these are the usual things. Everybody has to go with the age. Everybody will grow up. You will find the age, ethnicity is there because our feeding habits are decided by this ethnicity. Then body mass index greater than the 25. The persons like me who are overweight, they are having these types of issues. The personals of the family history of the diabetes, sometimes it also happens. We used to say, ask this question whether mother or father is suffering from disease. It happens. It affects. But the factors which are basically our environmental factors and our working conditions, feeding habits, they aggregate these things. So they combinedly act on this aspect. Smoking is also considered one of the factors. History of the heavy drinking is one of the factors of metabolic disorders. The stress is there in the being past menopause. That is the issue with the females, particularly in the age group of the 45 plus group. But among these, if you will see the age, you can't control ethnicity, you can't control body mass index, you can have some control over this depending upon your feeding habits. Personal or family history of diabetes, you can't control this factor. Smoking you can avoid, drinking you can avoid, but stress you can always avoid. And that is the most common cause of all sort of the metabolic disorder. And that is behind the history of any sort of the disease condition. We, the seniors who are sitting on the front rows of this and the youngsters who are sitting on the back benches, if you will compare the phenomena of this stress level, you will find at the age we used to own the things and we stress ourselves by own efforts, and we also involve in such a way that our bodies always remain in stress. And that is the reason, and that's why I am going to focus on this aspect on the stress, how it is affecting us and how it is performing, playing the role in this. So there are multiple factors, and if you will see from one side to another, nutritional stress. What we are eating, everywhere, every institute is having the Pizza Hut, everywhere you will find the burgers. Now the snacks mean the burger, pizza, nothing like this, the old traditional system which we used to eat, that is not the part of the life. So whatsoever the fast food, low fiber diets we are eating, that is creating the nutritional stress, and the next slide I will come on that, how it is affecting ourselves. So we are imposing ourselves with the nutritional stress, and in case of the youngster, it is the most common cause of the metabolic disorders. And moreover with the working women, it is the most easiest way to induce in their children, because she has overloaded timing schedules, she doesn't have time to cook. So the easiest way to order, just make a call and you will find so many things being supplied to your households, and you will give to your children, and they have this nutritional stress. Unknowingly we are imposing them, we are forcing them to move toward these disease conditions which will affect the life of that fellow. Then the environmental pollutions and the confined living spaces. You can imagine the conditions now, how much space we have to survive and to reside in the system society. Multiplexes, multi-story buildings, flats. In the COVID-19, many of us have this experience. The neighbors were not knowing who is residing nearby to me or next to me. So that type of condition and scenario, it also imposes the stress on our society and our stress. Working stress is always there. Students have their own stress, faculty has its own stress. So everywhere in the system you will feel this type of the psychological stress factors. In the social stress you will find the reduced social interaction. It is very common, we are 100 people are here and we used to say these workshops, interactions, they give some sort of relaxation from this stress environment. Because we interact to each other and it is a human nature. If you are suffering more, I am happy. I am suffering less. So these give some sort of the relaxation. So in society it is always there because we have reduced the social interaction. Many times you have seen on a WhatsApp that 4 people sitting on a table and they're working, playing with the mobile. So that type of scenario has come. A nuclear family, these are, once upon a time, these were considered that I am surviving with my wife. So it is not true sense, you are only surviving with your wife and your family. So these nuclear families are also imposing the stress. Then the physical stress, many times overworking with exercise, you might have seen the cases, somebody dying with doing the exercise, so overstressing. And vice versa of that, letharginess. I don't have time for the physical fitness or any exercise. That is also affecting. Then the emotional impairments, many of these. So all these factors which are responsible for this stress, whether the social stress, environmental, they lead to some stress that precipitate inside the body on an individual cell, particularly the liver cells, heart cells, kidney cells, which are the major cells, those are affected, and that chronic stress lead to the changes in the reactive oxygen species. And ultimately those changes are reflected in our life, in our body, because the cells, they constitute the tissues and ultimately organs in the system. So once the cells are affected by the stress factors, they have to survive in that. So they develop some pathways to survive, and that are expressed in sort of the emotional impairment like the anxiety, academic stress lead to depression, and you will find the suicidal tendency. So this is not because of that it is a one-day story. It is an ongoing process. Somebody is deciding for the suicide because he is on continuous depression. So in this way, when you will have the hippocampal atrophy, so if your hippocampus is affected, you can imagine how your system will work, and that will lead to the learning and the memory defects. If somebody says that I am trying my best but I cannot remind, that means he is suffering from this type of stress, and then ultimately this learning and memory defects are there. The excitotoxicities are there and neuroinflammations. The nervous system is not properly working because of this stress over the cell. So many of the factors you will find, these are which can be avoided, which can be reduced, and with the time, once you are feeling that you are having some sort of the things facing in your life in day-to-day working, that I am not recalling the things. Likewise, for example, nowadays we don't know the number of the near dear because we don't have time to remember, and if you try to remember, we can't do that. So that is because of the stress of the nervous system, because nerves are not properly working, so we are not having that capability to get these things in a routine way as we used to do earlier. So these are the stress factors which are mainly responsible, and focus on this, that your main cells of the vital organs like the liver, heart, kidney, they are mainly affected by these things. So now coming on the next aspect, that was the mitigating. How to mitigate? कैसे इसको challenge करें, accept करें? So that is the part of my work where we used to work as a microbiologist. So with 1 or 2 slides, I would like to focus on yourself. I request you to focus on yourself, that what we are. Whether we are the human beings, I don't accept this as a microbiologist. Whether we are a combination of system organ, as a scientist it is okay, but as a microbiologist it is not okay. Because this globe or this universe, that is mainly dependent upon the microbial species. If I talk about the human being, a healthy human carry 10 million microbes at a time. If somebody says that, adults say that I am healthy, that means he or she is carrying at least 10 million healthy population of microbes who are working there for 24/7 for the well-being of that host, so that he or she can feel that he is healthy, fit and fine. So if I am claiming that I am Dr. Amit, no. I am a house of those 10 million microbes who are working for me for 24/7, 365 days. And we have to accept this fact and reality. If we don't accept this, the outcome was in earlier slides. So realize this thing that we are the host, and one thing is that in Indian system we know the host means what? We have to give the good hospitality. That means if you are harboring the 10 million microbes, you have to give them some environmental condition, physiological condition, nutritional environment that is fit for them for their better, best performance. So that the outcome can be up to the expectations. And for that you have to remember this, till date we know only the 0.01% of the microbial population. And among these 0.01 we know the 10 million microbes are in this system. And these remains always in symbiosis. Never consider these microbial population that these are there because they want to create harm to you. No. They are assigned a duty to work for you, to metabolize for you, to produce some output so that you can be a fit and fine personality. So always consider them that those are remembering, staying there in the symbiosis, nutrition, feed, and everything. And you have to produce something for my growth, my maintenance, and my survival on this earth. The day they will stop working, the message will come, multiple organ failure, and thank you, bye-bye. So one thing always consider that we have to focus on these microbial population if we want to fit and fine. And concept is now well published and documented on a paper in Nature. If you have time to go through this, please go through. It is for your personal information. It is very much is required because now one thing is clear. Our gut governs our state of mind. Very much is required because now one thing is clear. Our gut governs our state of mind. The psychobiotics, the different biochemical constituents which are produced by these microbial populations, which are residing inside our system, those decide whether in the morning you will feel that I am comfortable today. So that is the reason why if in the evening you are enjoying a party, in the morning the party feed whatsoever you have taken in healthy mood, you will be in a happy mood, or if you are facing some problem. So that is decided in the last night because overnight those microbes will produce some biochemical products, and those will be the psychobiotics. Now these are designated as psychobiotics which will decide the anxiety, depression and other mood disorders. Those will be reflected in your next day morning program. Then when we talk about this, the gut microbes are the most important part of this because they perform many of the activities for us, and they are the key role for the gut microbiota in contributing to mental health. Now these are well documented and proven that these microbes, they modulate the neuroendocrinal and the metabolic pathways which affect your day-to-day life, your growth, your maintenance and your survival. And these are based on this. They produce their precursors which may lead to the synthesis and the release or the expression of the hormones, cytokines and different metabolites. So if we can understand these things, we can mitigate any sort of disease condition, and these can be very simple way now are well proven and accepted. And this is the one of that. These two examples I am quoting. I can give you more examples. US FDA, Food and Drug Administration, they have now just recently, April 26, 2023, they have approved WOST. What is that? The first fecal microbiota product that will be given orally. Fecal microbiota, that means the microbes isolated from the feces of the healthy human. Feces of the healthy human. Those will be given so that this Clostridium difficile infections, those mainly affected the cold climatic conditions, European conditions, population. So those can be saved, used to save the life of the healthy, humans in that particular area, and those will be taken as oral pills nowadays. So we have reached up to this level that scientifically we have proven that we have to maintain the microbiota so that you can avoid the disease conditions, and is one of that example. Now it is well documented and validated that how much in dose these are to be given. Now come on the first one. This is the name of the society, like the tribals which we have in the Port Blair and many of the places which are unaffected by our feeding habits and the feeding invasion which we have received from the Western countries. So like this, they have a society who are basically the hunter and gatherers in Tanzania. There is a huge project working on this aspect. Why? Because now the society has realized, the scientific fraternity has realized that whatsoever the microbial population were residing in the host body long hundreds or thousands years back, that was the most suitable healthy environment, most suitable microbial population. We have demolished that. We have modified that depending upon the feeding habit, depending upon the climatic conditions. And then we have to find out. So they have identified this society that it is untouched. Untouched in the sense that they don't have any modern sort of pizza, burgers and like this. They are residing in nature, with nature, in such a way that they are dependent upon nature perfectly. So next focus is on the gut of these humans of this society. So hopefully we will get some concrete so that we can have this type of population, microbial population, which will come from the society feces, and that can be available in the market so that we can have the better mindset. We can be free from the anxiety, stress factors. So these two examples are there. And now imagine the condition, what the scenario is. We are going back we are searching back we are finding the desirable number of microbial population so that we can free from these anxiety, depressions and metabolic disorders, syndromes, and that we can do here in our system, particularly Indian system, if we avoid the feeding habits which we have obtained from those as a Western culture or the modernization. So based on this, I have concluded 3-4 points. If you agree with me, accept this and adopt this. For any metabolic related condition, stress is a key factor. If you will reduce the parameter of stress, you reduce the stress level, you will find that you are free from many of the conditions, or you can delay the onset of these conditions. If your father is suffering from diabetes, your mother is suffering from diabetes, okay. Try to maintain such a level that your cells are less stressed, so the onset of diabetes or such metabolic disorders can be delayed. But in the age of 30s, 40s, 50s, the late stages. Then to avoid the stress, 3 things which we can do without any efforts, without any payment. And first thing is the avoid abrupt changes in the diet and diet schedules. Then we all are aware. I have taken the meal here. Tomorrow morning I will decide whether it was healthy meal or not. Because overnight these will work. These means the microbes will work and they will decide, because depending upon the type of meal they will perform, and the performance will be reflected in the form of their metabolites or the psychobiotics. So those will come in the circulation after 8 to 12 hours, and accordingly my mood will be decided tomorrow morning. So I will decide whether the meal was healthy or not. That depends upon this. So in that way, the diet and diet schedules are mainly responsible. I am talking about the diet schedule because if you have a 10 million microbes surviving over you, you need their energy requirement, fulfill their energy requirements. So excessive fasting is not at all required, but fasting is required. I will come on that. Then be natural. Try to be natural. If you are going for a juice, try to take the natural juice without preservative. If you want to take anything, you want to add anything, try to be natural in that. Then be native. And that is the key of all the things. अपना बिस्तर, अपना कमरा, मेरा पेन, मेरी पेंसिल, बचपन से यही करते आए। माँ की गोद, माँ का आंचल। Why it is so? Because when I came in existence, my mother was the first one from where I obtained this microbiota, which came in my mouth during the birth process, when I was passing through the birth canal. So that is the first seed of those 10 million microbes that's entered in my body during the process of the birth. So if somebody is, some child is crying and all those, if you place it with the mother, you will feel that it is happy, it is comfortable, because what we feel, अपना पिलो कभी महसूस किया आपने? तकिए पे खुशबू आती है, अपने बिस्तर में से, अपनी चादर में से खुशबू आती है. What is that? The microbes of your body which are residing over your skins have been there in a pillow and the beddings, in your environment, in your room. They are producing the similar kind of क्या? Environment or aroma which we need. महसूस करते हैं ना, गुलाब का फूल है, कैसा लगता है? तो आपका माइक्रोबियल कैसा एरोमा देता है, आपके पिलो बताएंगे. And that is the reason why we feel comfortable always in our beddings, that we are in the same aroma, in the same population. So whenever you feel uncomfortable, whenever you realize that you are not comfortable, you are facing some problems, try to be native. Look back on your background and return back to your place. And you will realize the water, feed, habit and everything is up to the mark. And you will start recovering immediately, because the forces which are residing inside you, they will immediately realize that the support is coming from outside. So you just feel that like this, that army is fighting on the border and they get the message that support is coming from the behind. So what will happen? They will fight with more efforts and ultimately you will conquer. So that is my suggestion, that whenever you face such type of problems, think over what are the bases we have left, what are the possibilities to look back, and up to which level we can go back. So with sort of compromise, we have to think over this, and you will, if you think over this, you will find that you are recovering back. And what the be natural means here, that don't try to be what you are not. Don't try to eat for which you are not tuned. For which you are not tuned, your microbiota is not tuned. You are single identity, but you have 10 million microbes. Imagine if 10 million microbes will go on a strike, what will happen? The same thing will happen. So try to be natural. Consider always these things in your life, that we have to maintain this. And for that, one thing is very important, and you might have heard this, fasting. I was just explaining a few lines back, that fasting is required, but excessive fasting is not required. Why fasting is required, that is very important, because if you have a machinery working 24/7, it also needs some rest. It also needs some rest, repair work, maintenance. We have so many sugarcane factories in Western UP. Those are also stopped, are closed for 6 months of period of time for the maintenance purpose. So the nature has given you a natural factory with 10 million workers. They also need some rest. The class time is 50 minutes maximum, because we can't focus more than that at a time. The duty hours 6 to 8 hours, because it is supposed that we can't work more than 6 to 8 hours of time. So if the same condition is there, that the microbial population also need the rest. So go on native habits, go on natural, take the dinners on early time, and if in the morning, start with the light food. So what will happen, if you are going to bed at 10 or 10:30 and you are taking the meal by the 6:30 or 7:30, by the 10 p.m. they will finish the job. And from 10:30 onward to 6:30, at least 8 hours relaxation will be there. So you are on a fast of 8 hours. Extend this time. And that will give sufficient time to microbial population to revive, to regain, to come together. For the next day, stress. And if you will give sufficient times, they will cope with in a better manner. They will deal with the stress in a better manner. So in this way, you can recover back. And with this, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Although the time was less, but I tried to comprise. And if you have any questions, I will be more than happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this knowledgeable session.
Just one question. First of all, thanks for beautiful presentation and very relevant topic that you have discussed. One thing is that if any, till date we have identified some chemicals or some substances that released from the gut microbes and comes into systemic circulation. And if any, you see how they act, point number one. And second things, how we can revive, what are the different way to revive this microbial flora?
This paper is from Indian Journal of Microbiology.
Okay.
That's why I have placed it here. We Indians have developed published this paper with this all the information that the microbial populations, they are producing different biochemicals. They vary from the individuals depending upon their feeding habits. They vary from the ethnicity also. Because in our condition, ethnicity decides the feeding habits. And now it is well proven, if you are a vegetarian, your microbial population is best suitable environment. We all know that aggregations come from the feeding habits. Now it is well proven and that is the reason why the vegetarians are increasing in the Western countries, but we Indians, we are increasing in the reverse direction they're going. If you will search in the Google, you will find that now almost it is considered 70% Indian population is non-veg. It was not true in the initial stages. So there are different sort of metabolites which are released by these microbial populations. Those are now well established and those are published in public domain. And how we can recover back. So that is the best way. From where you will get these microbial populations. That's why they have going back to the tribals and all those, but need not to go there. Have a natural food. If you are taking a fruit directly from a plant and you are eating it, that means you are taking the natural microbial populations, which are healthy populations, that will go inside the host, and the curd is the best example. Many times when indigestion is there, you will find. Those who have resided in a village area, so they have milkway and all those, they have been using this. So that is the important aspect, that you have to go back from those. Dahi lenge, matha lenge, chach lenge, some microbes देंगे आपको. They will reside inside the body. They will revive you. So took the natural things without any preservative. अब मेरा दही से मतलब वो नहीं है जो मार्केट में पैक होके आती है. मेरा कर्ड से मतलब.
Sir, I was coming on the same question. I want to ask you the curd temperature. You see, there are variation in the curds to take in our diet. Sometimes we take the curd is going to ready and we take with the food with our food. Sometimes we keep in the refrigerators, then we take the cold. Sometimes lassi in form of the buttermilk and lassi. So I want to ask you the microbes, number of the population, what should be the ideal temperature of the curd so that we can get the maximum number of microbes during for the just gut microbes.
Sir, what I have written in the last slide, that is the be natural. Be natural. Always keep in your mind. Cold juices, cold drinks, hot coffees, not recommended at all. So the curd means what? What has developed and prepared in a room temperature, that is 25 to 35. And that is the best temperature for the curd. what happens when we chill it? That means the microbial population is under stress. The lactobacilli present in the curd, they are also under stress. And one thing is very sure, I am a microbiologist, I don't have slide just now, that would have been there. थोड़ा सा याद करें कि दुनिया में अस्तित्व में living things कैसे आई. Who was the first one to come? The microbes, the single cell microbes. हम 3000 साल पहले आए, वो millions years पहले आए. ठीक? And they have developed it. अभी तो आपको सियाचिन में जाने के लिए कुछ पहनना पड़ता है, लेकिन उनको वहाँ कुछ नहीं पहनना पड़ता. We go for the higher places, hot springs are there. आपको hot springs में हाथ को सेव करने के लिए पहनना पड़ता है, gloves पहनेंगे ना, but they are there. आप deep ocean में जाएंगे, आपको oxygen bag की जरूरत है, but they are there. So they are well adapted in all the adverse environmental conditions. Another thing, आपके जीनोम का साइज कितना और उनके जीनोम का साइज कितना? हमारे जीनोम के साइज में in a healthy human, we have only 20,000 to 23,000 proteins. Those are coded in genetic material. So there is a project, Human Proteome Project, that is going on to find out how many proteins we have and how many proteins, which type of proteins synthesize and accumulate together to make a human being. The microbial population, which are almost 1,000 times less than genetic material than us, they have capacity to produce 3,000 to 3,500 proteins. So who is more efficient? Microbes. Who have better adaptability for the environmental conditions, microbes. So they are very smart. And one important thing, you can't remove a gene from your genetic material. The microbes are there very smart. They used to remove the gene, they used to acquire the gene. So they acquired the gene as per the requirement. So if you are using the curd and a strain which is continuously being chilled, listen carefully. It happens with me also, you also, because now everybody is having the fridge. Not fridge, big size fridge, so that so many things can be frozen. Initially it was the 165 liter fridge in our households. Now if in some house you will find 165 liter fridge, you feel that अच्छा सा परिवार नहीं है, खाता पीता नहीं है. So now the big size fridge, 600 liter, 350 तो minimum हो गया, double door. So if you are forcing that microbial population to be chilled every 24 hours, so they have to develop some strategy to survive at cold temperature. Then only next day your strain will be perfect for the next day curd formation. So you are forcing them to mutate, to develop changes. And that are not, those changes are not at all required by gut. That is not favorable. So that's why, and I used to give this example to these kids which are sitting behind. हम भी यही करते हैं, शादी में जाते हैं, पहले कुछ गरम गोलगप्पे खा लिए, ये चेंज कर लिए, उसके बाद गए गरम गरम टिक्की खा ली, गोलगप्पे का पानी ठंडा था, ध्यान रखिएगा. फिर टिक्की खाई गरम गरम, उसने कहा बहुत बढ़िया बनी थी. किसी ने आके बताया कि उधर से डोसा, कॉर्नर पे डोसा बहुत अच्छा, चलो डोसा भी खा लेते हैं. फिर कहीं से मालूम चला कि मिठाई बहुत अच्छी है तो मिठाई भी खा लेते हैं. ठीक, तब तक देखा कोई आइसक्रीम लेके आया, बोले ये कैसे छूट जाएगी. अभी ये जो गट माइक्रोबायोटा, कहते हैं गला खराब हो गया, इसलिए होता है बेटा, क्योंकि अभी भी जो गट माइक्रोबायोटा जो माउथ से स्टार्ट हुआ था 37 डिग्री पे था. आपने गरम गरम खाना खाया, चलो 40 के आसपास था, सरवाइव कर लिया, उसने स्ट्रेस में आया, फिर भी बर्दाश्त कर लिया, बोले भाई काम करना है. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट क्या होने वाला है, उसके बाद जो होने वाला है वो बड़ा सरप्राइजिंग है उसके लिए. अब उसको शॉक लगने वाला है, शूट एट साइट. बोला आइसक्रीम थी तुरंत खाओ, फ्रोजन टेम्परेचर 4 डिग्री सेल्सियस, पूरे गट पे चूस के खाया, लिख कर. बेचारा यहाँ से यहाँ तक गया, वहां तक ठंडा होता चला गया, मालूम चल रहा है यहाँ पर पहुंच गया, यानी कि कंफर्म कर रहे हैं, ऐसे हाथ बता के बोले ठंडा हो गया. एज ए माइक्रोबिस्ट व्हाट आई फील ना, मैं भी ऐसे करता हूँ, आप भी ऐसे करते हैं, सबने भी किया है और कर रहे होंगे. तो होता क्या, जहां जहां तक आपको ठंडा महसूस हो रहा है वहां तक कोल्ड शॉक आपने सारी माइक्रोबियल पॉपुलेशन को दे दिया. ठीक, और इंडियंस है ना, तो काउंट करते हैं कितने दे के आए हैं, खाया था कि नहीं खाया था, पूरा खाया था कि नहीं खाया था, सब खाया था कि नहीं खाया, टेस्ट किया था कि नहीं किया था. तो आप साइंस के स्टूडेंट हो बेटा, इसलिए आप लोगों से कहता हूँ कि हम लोगों में तो डिफरेंस आए, हम तो कम से कम ध्वज वाहक हो जो ध्वज लेके जाए कि भाई मालिक ने तो रखे हैं सब समाज पर, अपने की तो ध्यान रखो। तो जो एंड होता है ना वो सबसे मुश्किल है। कोल्ड शॉक में था, सबको पता है कोल्ड शॉक में, हमें भी पता है सर्दी के टाइम में आइसक्रीम खाने से कोई फायदा नहीं, नुकसान ही हो रहा है, पर वो फिर संतुष्टि कैसे करते हैं, बोले यार कॉफी पी के चलेंगे। एंड यू नो दैट व्हाट इज द कॉफी टेम्परेचर, 65 to 70 डिग्री सेल्सियस। Imagine single cell bacteria, microbial population working for you, surviving for your betterment, and what you are doing with that? Giving a cold shock at 4 degrees Celsius, then putting it from the 4 degrees Celsius to the 65 degree hot coffee, and then in the morning asking, पता नहीं क्या खिलाया था, गला खराब हो गया। मालिक ने गलती थोड़ी ना की थी, गलती तो हम ही ने की, क्योंकि वो जो पॉपुलेशन थी कुछ तो कोल्ड स्टॉक में चली गई, जो बेचारी एडेप्ट कर पाई थी वो हॉट कॉफी में चली गई, और सुबह उठ के कहते हैं गले में प्रॉब्लम है। प्रॉब्लम तो हो, तो इसीलिए उसका इलाज भी वही है। उसके बाद हम एक गलती और करते हैं जो सभी लोग करते हैं, सब डॉक्टर हैं हिंदुस्तान में, इससे ज्यादा बड़े एमबीबीएस कहीं नहीं बेटा। सड़क पे खड़े हो जाएगी और रिक्शे वाले से जाने वाले से पूछेगी कि मेरे सिर में दर्द है, एक दवाई बता के जाएगा, किसी पीर फकीर का नाम बताएगा, कुछ कोई तावीज बता देगा, कोई कुछ और बता देगा, कोई गोली दे देगा, कोई आयुर्वेदिक दे देगा, सब डॉक्टर है यहाँ, बॉन्ड डॉक्टर। तो सुबह उठते ही गले में खराश देगी तो जैसे जैसी समझ है ना, जैसे जिसको पता है, या जो उसके घर में रेडी टू यूज एंटीबायोटिक्स किट में रखी है वो तुरंत उसको उसी हिसाब से इस्तेमाल करना शुरू करेगा। मतलब जो बचे कुचे थे ना उनका सत्यानाश और कर दिया। एंटीबायोटिक खा ली, एंटीबायोटिक के उसे क्या मालूम कि अच्छे थे खराब थे, वो तो मारने गई थी, उसने सब मार दिया। इसीलिए जब कभी ऐसी प्रॉब्लम होती है तो सिंपली टेक अ ल्यूकवार्म वाटर, ऐड सम साल्ट एंड परफॉर्म द गार्गल। उसको अच्छा सा मौसम दीजिए, खुशी खुशी से रहने का मौका दीजिए, तो दे विल रिवाइव। तो आपका जो क्वेश्चन का आंसर है सर वो ये है,
सर माय क्वेश्चन इज दैट कि कंफ्यूजन आपका बी नेटिव एंड बी नेटिव है। The conclusion is that
Be natural and be native. Right sir, there are so many examples in rural areas जहाँ पे लोग बिल्कुल भी मतलब वेस्टर्न कल्चर से बिल्कुल भी अफेक्टेड नहीं है, लेकिन वहाँ भी स्ट्रेस, हार्ट फेलियर, कार्डियक अरेस्ट ये सब देखने को मिलता है। सो देयर इज अ डाउट कि हमारा नेचर में ही कोई प्रॉब्लम है या फिर उन लोगों की लाइफस्टाइल इतनी सही है उसके बाद भी वो लोग इतने इफेक्ट हो रहे हैं ये डिजीज के साथ। सो आई थिंक
कोई क्वेश्चन मार्क नहीं है, थोड़ा सा पीछे जाने की जरूरत है। कितने कैंसर के मरीज हम बचपन में सुनते थे कि हमारे नियर डियर या हमारे आसपास चले गए, नहीं सुनते थे हम। अभी आप देखो ना हर तीसरा आदमी कैंसर, अभी आप देखो ना हर तीसरा आदमी कैंसर, चौथा आदमी कैंसर, हर तीसरा चौथा आदमी हार्ट फेलियर।